Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Teach the Leader in You, where we chat about realistic leadership theories. It's your boy Tyler here, and we're back with another host conversation just to have a conversation between host and just learning um, a bit about ourselves and some of the topic thoughts that we have and all that good stuff. So we're continuing the conversation on mental health. And Josh, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good as always, and I'm excited to continue this little discussion thread we've been having. I've been enjoying it quite a bit, so we'll definitely get right into this one.
Yeah, and we have some top questions here, and the theme of this one is: do you think modern society increases the likelihood of mental health problems?
Yeah,
Josh, I'll start with you. What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting question because there's kind of two different viewpoints, I guess you can have, and one of them I think is um, it definitely does. Like I think it
Yeah,
100% does, but I think also people are more willing to seek help. I think people are the idea about mental illness, being a problem has definitely come into society's viewpoint more recently. So I think that's kind of the other side of it. But at the same time, I think modern society definitely negatively impacts mental health. And I think the biggest point and the one that most people think about is social media.
yeah,
Social media can be good, and it is good for many different reasons, but I think it also can be negative, just like anything else. It's good and bad. But when something my mom used to always say, and she still says, is the importance of balance, but also, um, what are you getting out of it? Is something that she
mhm,
always used to say, and says,
yeah,
you think about positive things as, you know, you want the positive things, but you can also get something out of negative things, and in your mind and your body can actually become addicted to those negative things and feed you into negative cycles, which can, of course, cause mental
yeah,
illnesses. So,
yeah.
whether it be social media or other factors of modern society, I think it's definitely a cause.
Josh, I totally agree with you when it comes down to that because when looking on social media, the fighting, the bickering, the angry aggression, and sometimes you think, oh, it's funny or oh, it's laughable, but like no, it actually feeds on your mind. Like the other day, I started to delete um any thing on Twitter because I love Twitter. So I was following these Karen feeds, and so everything was just showing me how these individuals were like being a bad influence in their community. But I was like
Yeah.
using it just as a laugh and to see how. But at the end of the day, it goes into your mind. What you feed your mind with, it then
Mhm.
cause you to teach you different aggressions or different anger and stuff like that, or it gets with your mind and say, oh, I'm allowed to do that, or it's okay for me to do that. It's okay for me to shout, or it's okay for me
Yeah.
to be aggressive. And so, like, you have to be very careful as to what you look at. And so, I just started to clear my thoughts and clear my mind away from those negative assumptions or negativity as well, because like I want my mind to think about positive action or positive ways of thinking. And so I started looking at, I don't know if you've heard of Darman videos. Darman, have you ever watched Darman videos?
Yes.
He's a good person to help through mental health or just thinking about the positive side of things or what is the right thing to do when going into community. So if you haven't listened to Darman, I think Darman is a good way that who is helping increase positively on social media.
Mhm.
But yeah, I totally agree. Be careful what you watch because it may affect you on which you may practice bad habits. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah,
And I think to continue the discussion, I think it's also not just social media, it's also just the world we live in nowadays.
yeah,
I think I mean, I've only lived in obviously my time I've been alive, but I think it's one of the hardest times in terms of
Yeah,
in terms of mental illness. Like,
yeah,
yeah, there's maybe no like, no, we're not out there scavenging for food. Like we have, most people have safe homes and stuff to come to every night, but I
yeah,
think the mental toll of living in a society that like we do, it can
yeah,
definitely wear on you, especially if you don't have the support, whatever reason that maybe it's financial support or
yeah,
whatever, family support or whatever. It can definitely start to wear on you. And I think also if you have underlying medical conditions or underlying um, mental conditions to begin with, they can also um, extrapolate that. So it's definitely it's a hard time to live in, but I think if you have the right support in line, and it's never too late to get the right support in line, you
yeah.
can still live a very good and healthy life. So the question, I guess, can be maybe pushed to how do you think you can live, a happy, sustainable life in the current culture we live in? Maybe a question for you, from me.
I think being careful of the space that you set yourself in, like making sure that the environment that you put yourself in is healthy for you, and protect your space, protect your surroundings. Like if you see that there's negativity and you don't want to be involved, like walk away or
Hmm.
just put yourself, don't involve yourself into that environment. For me, I always try to protect my energy and the environment that I live in because I know that this world has a lot of judging and a lot of
Hmm.
criticizing individuals, and so I don't want to be a part of that environment. So you can step out of different environments, and so don't think that you have to stay in that environment. Make sure that your environment is healthy, that your environment is welcoming
Yeah.
for you, and acknowledge it if you don't feel that way, especially if you're in your work environment, if it's your workplace, acknowledge that. Have a conversation with your supervisor, have a conversation with your employer, and say, hey, I don't feel that this environment is protecting me mentally or being there to support me. And so the environment is really important to make you feel happy, especially when going through mental health. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think that's a very good point. And I like the point that you made about creating that space for yourself. I think that's important. Is
mm,
maybe if you don't see your world as being where you want it,
yeah,
being able to create the world is very important, and being
yeah.
a positive light in someone else's world can go a long way too. You don't want to feed into the negativity, but trying to build on the positivity and getting other people to build into that positivity. That's maybe how we combat it in the future.
And affirmations help as well. I always say, I think a lot of people say, "Oh, affirmations is always," but it comes from believing.
Hmm.
The affirmations come from, do you believe what you're saying?
Right.
Do you hear the words, "I can do this," or "I
Yeah.
will do this"? Like, do you hear those words really, or are you just saying it because someone said it, told you to say it? Like,
100%.
make sure that you believe yourself
Yeah.
and what you're saying.
You can
Yeah,
say whatever you want, but if you don't truly believe it, it's not going to make a difference. So that's
yeah,
very true.
yeah, yeah. Well, this has been a good episode, Josh. What is one tip that you wanna leave us with, so that people will be able to like go forward with their day? Yeah,
One tip, I'd say, don't be afraid to be real with yourself.
yeah,
Don't be scared to go after the things you want in life,
yeah,
because you only got one, and you might as well make the most of it. And situations and scenarios are going to present themselves, and most times they'll be very hard. But if you have the right mindset, and you have that never quit mindset, um, positive mindset, I think even the worst of scenarios can you can find joy in that, and that's ultimately what I think life's about is finding joy somehow or happiness somehow in whatever capacity that is. So um, continue to push and put the things in your life, like you said, the, put things in place in your life that you want. And it's easier said than done, but I think that's a good point to have and a good mindset to have.
Yeah, that's a great way. Go outside, get some fresh air, feel the rain, whatever it is that nourishes your sound. Go outside. I encourage you to get some fresh air. That's the best way to feel alive. And put yourself in a position that hey, you can do this. And we're here to support you. Um,
Absolutely.
and all that good stuff. So. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great day.